Welcome into Redacted, all of you rebels out there. Thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully Jackie is here with us tonight. I know she couldn't hear us a short time ago, so welcome. This is the show where we seek the truth, trying to find the stories and cover the stories that the mainstream media largely will ignore. I'm Clayton Morris.
I'm Natali Morris.
So welcome into the big show. We do have a jam-packed show for you on this Hump Day Wednesday, so hump them if you've got them. Consensually, of course. So we're going to talk about the latest out of Ukraine. We're also going to look at the very latest on North Korea launching a number of missiles over the past few days and sending people into air raid shelters. We'll look at that, but we'll also look at like a couple of pieces around Ukraine as President Putin signing the annexation agreements. What does that actually mean for NATO? Because all the talk is absolutely no peace at all for you. We're not interested in peace. Whatever you've got, we don't want it. All we want is war. So we're going to look at the very latest ramping up on that side.
We are also going to talk about how does this sound for you, $12 a gallon, because that is what one analyst is predicting based on the new supply cuts from OPEC nations, which will remove about 2% of oil from the global economy. Is it time to freak out? Why is this happening? Was the U.S., did they fail to prevent this even though they didn't want it? So many questions. We are going to get to those many questions.
I thought Biden went to the Middle East and gave a fist bump to the Saudi.
Yeah, apparently the White House is literally freaking out. That's like a literal quote.
Yeah,
freaking out.
You know what else? You know who else is freaking out? Are rich people. And I got to tell you, when you watch what they're doing right now with buying nuclear fallout bunkers, it's really, really troubling. And a number of companies are now offering up these bunkers. They're building them around the world. We're going to take you behind the scenes of these nuclear bunkers so you can see what the rich are doing right now, stocking up on air purification systems that are anti-radiation systems, the whole thing. We're going to talk about that.
Plus, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is going to testify in an inquiry about why the Emergencies Act was declared for the first time ever in Canada over vaccine mandate protests. It's interesting. We'll see if we're going to get any juicy tidbits. We will be watching. My gut tells me he's got some song and dance to share that we're not going to get anything real, but we're going to break it down anyway.
So maybe he'll sing some Queen songs.
Oh, again, right. Or maybe he tap dances.
Yeah, we'll see. So we're good on the sound now? We're good on the sound? Everything's good?
Yes, we're totally good. Yep.
All right. Give us thumbs up.
My bad.
Give us thumbs up in the chat. We're good on the sound. We're good on the sound. Okay. All right.
Some people are saying no audio, but that's from if they're starting over, I suppose. Right. Okay. Yeah. All good?
Because we're good. I can see it all.
All right. Okay. If we're all good, then let's say Redacted starts right now.
Roll it, Al. I saw someone in the chat say, "Hey, it's Natali and that guy. Welcome." That's right. It's that guy.
That's nice of you to say because most of the time it's Clayton Morris and his wife, that lady.
And this lady.
We once did a joint keynote speech and they literally in his bio gave like from Fox News, did this, did that. And my first line of my bio was written, is the wife of Clayton Morris. Like that was my first accomplishment in life. And I was like, who wrote this? It's so sexist. He was not introduced as my husband.
Can you also send your wife's biography? Yes. Wife of me. Here you go. Send.
That's how you know. That's how you know you've made it, Natali. That's how you know you've made it.
Exactly.
I guess I'm, sleeping my way to the top.
No, she's an accomplished wife of me.
I sometimes, every so often in the comments, we see, are they brother and sister? Because they have the same last name. We are not. We are married. That's why we have the same last name. Yes,
and she's an accomplished journalist. She started out as a newspaper journalist. I started out as a broadcast journalist, and that's how we met actually many years ago before we got married. Yes, so anyway.
Well, and it goes on all my bios, too, because everywhere we go now, we can say friends of Clayton Morris. And everybody's like, oh, you're friends with that guy? I'm like, yeah, I've never rubbed elbows with, well, yeah, I have. I've been to your house. I forgot.
That'll get doors slammed right in your face. Like, oh, that guy. That guy, you can't invite him to dinner parties. So, hey, we do have a daily newsletter that's written by me and the wife. If you go to
That is also backwards.
If you go to redacted.inc, it's the website you sign up for, redacted.inc. You put in your email address, and every day you'll receive the newsletter first thing in the morning to your inbox. We cover a bunch of stories in there. We covered this morning.
Someone says, you married your sister?
That's right.
We are not brother and sister.
We're husband and wife. I never met... Yeah, she's not related to me, only by marriage vows. All right, we've got some big news to get to today. Let's start with what the liberal left is saying about Ukraine, North Korea, and we're going to talk about how this war in Ukraine ends tonight. It ends with Putin being taken out. That's what the liberal left is telling us over the weekend and the past few days. Eradicated will be the leader of Russia. That's the only way that this war ends, according to leftists. And by the way, remember years ago, like when you were a leftist, if you were part of the Obama, part of the Clinton campaign, Clinton team, you were vehemently anti-war. That's what you ran on. You were anti-nuclear. This was like part of your platform. Like, we don't support these wars.
Right.
Now they've become
Obama
literally
was
the party
called
of
the
war.
peace candidate.
Right. He won a Nobel Peace Prize for what?
Correct.
For killing innocent people.
And some
with
of the
drone
rhetoric
strikes.
around against Hillary Clinton was that she would be too soft to go to war or to use nuclear weapons.
Right, so she had to really ramp up her, prove to people that she was happy to use nuclear weapons. So this is your Democratic Party right now if you live in the United States. And it doesn't matter, these are also the leftist policies throughout Europe right now. So wherever you are in the world, let us know here in the chat tonight where you're joining us. So that's the focus, right? Whoever is going to carve up Russia and break it down, take out Vladimir Putin, depose him as a leader. That's the goal. Of course, they haven't thought through the idea who's going to take care of these 6,000 nuclear weapons that Putin has under his arsenal. Who's going to take care of those while NATO is busy carving up Russia? So that's what they want. That's their plan. Meanwhile, Donald Trump, Colonel McGregor say that that's insane. Even Elon Musk. Those are basically like the three people that are even calling for peace. Isn't it crazy? A former president, a former colonel, and a guy that makes electric cars.
And a few, academics who get kicked off the air.
Oh, and Noam Chomsky, too. That's true.
And Roger Waters.
Yeah.
All these fringe characters.
I'm just talking about Americans. I'm just
right.
talking about Americans on that side, right?
I think Clayton Morris is, too.
Oh, yeah, we are here. But
he's a friend of mine.
We don't have the gravitas. We don't have the gravitas of Elon Musk, I guess. This is what Western leaders are calling for right now is peace. These three people, that's it. Meanwhile, we've got North Korea firing missiles over Japan. Is China, testing the waters before an invasion of Taiwan, using North Korea as sort of their dog in this. There's a lot of speculation that that's exactly what China is doing, using North Korea, testing the waters on this. But let's start with Russia on this. Vladimir Putin makes it official today by signing the annexation documents. And get ready for all hell to break loose. He spent hours. He went through 400 pages and had to sign 400 pages of annexation documents to bring in the 4 regions of the Donbass. And look how the New York Times, look at this headline. Putin signs annexation laws, plowing ahead with a parallel reality as Russia loses ground in Ukraine. So the Western media continues to say that this is some sort of alternative reality, like a bizarro world, and pretending that these people somehow didn't vote to leave Ukraine.
And have not been trying to do just that since 2014.
Yeah, or earlier, by the way. I'm going to show you some history here in a second that goes back decades before that. But this is the New York Times. Like they can't even really pass as journalism anymore. Like you were talking about CBS. It's like how far these old stalwarts of journalism have fallen. Here's the lead paragraph from the New York Times just a few hours ago. President Vladimir Putin signed more than 400 pages of legislation annexing 4 Ukrainian regions, the Kremlin said on Wednesday, forging ahead with a parallel reality in which Russia pretends to exercise sovereignty over thousands of square miles of territory that its military does not actually control. This is the New York Times.
But the New York Times admitted to us that Russia did control these regions as recently as, I want to say, March or April.
Yes.
So they're admitting that Russia is losing ground to Ukrainian advances, but not this much ground.
No, and even Russian media is saying that as well, that yes, Ukraine has gained some territory back in the Donbass region. That's absolutely the case. But what's not the case is that they are not in control of these 4 regions. Like small pockets of it, yes. But these people voted in an election where they decided their fate. So this is what passes for journalism these days, the New York Times. By the way, Rich Barris provides some context on Twitter on this. So it was really great analysis. He says this region has continually been voting against Ukraine and instead in favor of Russian interest over the years. So let me just give you a little historical context here. This might melt your brain a little bit, especially if you're reading the New York Times. Take a look at your screen. This is 2004. These are the election results from 2004, okay? Viktor Yanukovych, they're in purple, and Viktor Yushchenko in orange. Oh, I mean, it's right along lines right there. Purple voting for a pro-Russian government, basically, right? So that was 2004, overwhelmingly. Then let's take a look at 2014, which Natalie just mentioned. Again, the lines are clear. Overwhelming support to not support a pro-Western NATO-backed government in Kyiv. They absolutely were supporting, wanted to have their either independence or a Russian centrist, a Russian-backed government.
Yes.
This is 2014.
Well, in 2014, their fighting was renewed because of the changeover in government. And they felt like in those regions, this is our chance. Now that the government is something new, we can finally get out of here and separate from these people. They were not allowed, but it has raged bloodily, if I can use that as an adverb, ever since.
And Richard Barroso, like for some context on this, he says, so do referendum margins for Luhansk at 98%, Zaporizhia at 93%, Kherson at 87%, and Donetsk at 99% really look all that different from the previous results that we just showed you? No, they do not. They've been voting pro-Russia by similar margins for a long time. Modest increases after what's happened since 2014 isn't far-fetched. Yeah. So since 2014, what has happened? What has happened since 2014 that may have actually increased their margins in these areas?
Western involvement.
And nonstop bombing, and also a genocide. So thousands of people in the Donbass region killed over the last 8 years. Maybe that would sway them to vote a different way.
Yeah, I would change my political bent.
Like if you were a holdout voter, you're like, I'm not really sure. Am I going to support this Zelensky guy?
And then here comes a, like, I changed my mind.
Oh, you just blew up the school where our kids go? I don't know if I can support that Zelensky guy anymore. Not sure if I can. But one map I want to show you here that he didn't point out in this tweet, and I want to take, I want to add something to it here, which is this part in green, the green arrow there, which is, of course, Odessa. And notice that in both maps from 2004 and 2014, solid red, solid divisions. So I believe, and we have had military experts on this show, and so that's where I'm getting my opinions on this from, is that Russia will not stop until it has Odessa. So I think that's the next step in this. If they don't back off, it's not going to end with just the Donbass. It's going to move into Odessa, and then Ukraine becomes a landlocked country wrapped around underneath Moldova, and this country collapses. Poland then, of course, moves in on the western side and annexes part of the western side of Ukraine, and game over.
I just wonder what people who say, no, you have to continue to stop Russia, what do they think would happen if we let sleeping dogs lie right now? If there were peace talks, if we said, okay, that's yours, seems to have been voted for, okay, we all go home now. We coexist peacefully. Why is the Western media screaming so loudly against this? Because of the Putin's a madman narrative and he won't stop here? When he has said, I will stop here. Like, what if we tried? I can't pull that thread from anything that I read. We have to keep going or else.
Well,
right?
It's because where they get the money. So all of the money that funds these networks and news organizations come from these globalists.
Right.
And so CNN has intelligence community people on their shows on a nightly basis. So does CNBC. So does Bloomberg. All of these stations, all of these newspapers, they are paid for by the intelligence community and the deep state and, the military industrial complex.
It's just like Afghanistan. All it was a big money laundering operation, and that's what this is as well. Because they're never going to account for any of this money that's gone over there. We have no idea if it's even making it to Ukraine. It's probably padding the pockets of many elites here in the U.S. We have no idea. But like we found out later in Afghanistan, it was just a big money laundering scheme. So that would be what I think this probably is.
Right. I guess, I'm challenging the people that we see who comment on this show. Like, this is Russian propaganda. Because what, right? Because we want there to be a peace talk table with world leaders around it. That's what we want right now.
How is it?
I know. I think
most of it,
I was just going to say.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say it's funny how, if you want to talk about peace, Putin has been painted so bad that they're like, hey, you can't negotiate with terrorists, because that's how they look at Putin. And some people in the chat are like, if you talk about anything peace with Russia, you're a Putin apologist and all that other stuff, which makes zero sense.
Yeah.
You're just he's the ultimate bad guy.
Well, they've been painting him as the ultimate bad guy for years. Same with Kim Jong-un and, of course, the Ayatollah Khamenei.
Bashar
al-Assad. And so the idea of peace in Russia, if you don't have an enemy, then you can't convince the American people, I guess, to funnel billions of dollars to the military-industrial complex, right? So you need to have these boogeymen. You need to have this. And I see most people in our chat are, I think, overwhelmingly intelligent. And seems like it. And
yes.
Most people on our show are absolutely can see what propaganda is being thrown at them by the mainstream media.
Yes, I am not accusing our audience, of course, of anything of the sort. But I still sort of am watching the narrative around social media, and
if you're on Twitter, it's a hellhole. If you're on Twitter, people are like, Putin apologist, how dare you? You're on the wrong side of history. It's like, I'm on the wrong side of history, or you just don't even know your history at all.
I did a poll on the channel yesterday, and it was just a simple question: whose agenda do you support right now, Russia or Ukraine? And it was out of 37,000 votes, 86% support Russia.
86% out of 37,000 votes.
37,000 votes.
That's interesting. I want to reiterate that we only support peace at this point, right? So we're not promoting any global power, but at the same time, we do very seriously believe that there are legitimate concerns to not support Ukraine to keep fighting and dying.
And when you look at Western powers who are literally trying to take food, destroying our food supplies and putting people in the lockdowns and forcing people to take, pharmaceuticals that we've been covering here on the show. And you see one country that's being boxed in right now by Western NATO powers and is calling out these. And literally, Putin last week called it satanic. He called what the Western governments are doing is satanic. Those were his words. He said that what they're doing with the family, with the family structure is awful. And on.
That cultural piece of it is a completely different ball of wax.
Is it though? I think it's at the heart of it, right? They're scared of it, and the globalists are scared that there's maybe somebody standing up to it. I'm not saying. I actually believe that. I truly believe that. That they are scared that there are countries like China, that there are countries like like Brazil, there are countries in Africa who are saying absolutely not. We're not going to vote for the World Health Organization to give over all of our power, and they're scared of it. They absolutely are scared of it. It crumbles their agenda.
Yeah.
So to your piece about the mainstream media and the mainstream media narrative. I think this next piece is perfect because the United States is not interested in peace and mainstream media is not interested in peace. Just watch how they frame their questions to these people they have on their channels. So former General David Petraeus, who's suddenly back out there all of a sudden, friends of the Biden administration, friends of the Obama administration, is suddenly being called upon as an ex-CIA director, former four-star general, disaster in Afghanistan. But never mind that, right? We're going to put him all over CNBC. He'll be all over NBC News. We'll put him all over CNN. And we'll get him to tell us why we can't have peace and why we need to basically end Vladimir Putin's regime, as he says it. This was him on CNBC, but watch how this reporter frames the question. Watch.
To ask you, there have been reports that the Ukrainians, in order to secure more U.S. weapons, have said, listen, we would love for the U.S. to have eyes on our targets. We welcome oversight from the United States in terms of what we can hit with the weapons provided us by the United States in terms of Russian targets. Do you think that that's something that the United States would consider doing? Is that even legal?
First of all, we're not going to put boots on the ground. That doesn't mean there may not be other capabilities, or that there may not be some of our closest allies with boots on the ground, everyone working together. Second, in a world of enormous open source intelligence, where everyone has a smartphone that can be loaded on social media and so forth, the access to information is already very, very substantial. Third, it's very publicly known that we have assets that are flying right along the Polish border and have certain reach that's also well known, and other capabilities beyond that clearly give us, as they say, insights into what's going on the ground, what locations are of various assets and so forth. And it has been publicly acknowledged that we are sharing intelligence with Ukraine through various mechanisms. Beyond that, it's also well known that we are very, very actively supporting the maintenance of those systems that are inside Ukraine. When, say, a howitzer goes down, when it becomes inoperative because of maintenance reasons, it's immediately pulled back out, it's repaired right near the border, and then pushed back in. So there's an enormous amount of coordination that's ongoing behind the scenes that has maybe not been fully visible, although, again, almost all this has been laid out publicly in some.
But would you say it's a good idea? I mean, if the Ukrainians are saying, listen, we're going to run every target in Russia that we are focused on by the United States, just so that you feel secure in giving us those weapons?
Yeah, again, we should never get into the tactical or.
It makes it seem like he's like a pit crew on a NASCAR. Like,
that's exactly what we are.
When it stops, we're like, go back, go.
Oh, you got a broken down howitzer? We sent it. It's from the 1980s. We know it's broken down, so we're going to take it. We're going to. Don't worry, we don't even need to repair it. We just ordered a couple new ones for you, so we can keep the military-industrial complex going. We'll just keep them. We'll keep them rotating in.
Well, and also, make no mistake, this guy is on a campaign tour. He's on a tour right now to go sell this because he has to get. There's no way they would let him talk about this stuff without some kind of approval. And he's on a campaign right now because he's been on several different shows saying the same thing.
Yeah,
and
getting the same questions.
Should push him, because reports are that we absolutely don't know where the weapons or the money goes. And he's saying, well, there's drones. And there's, social media, and we're pretty, we like that. That feels good. So we'll just keep using that technology. What? That's ridiculous. Hackers have that.
Yeah.
So can't you do a little bit better? But he's like, we feel pretty good about what we can see.
Well, he also talked about boots on the ground, right? He's like, we don't have boots on the ground, right? Like, he's lying right to our faces. We already know the U.S. Special Forces have been there. They've been there for a long time. And he was referring, then he said our closest allies. Clearly, he was referring to Britain, who are also well known to have British Special Forces and multiple forces inside of Ukraine. We've documented it here on the show. We've shown you the videos. We've had different journalists, of course, backing that up. That's all been verifiable. Liz Truss today, the new Prime Minister of Britain, came out and said peace is totally off the table. Like, we're not talking peace. She's the one, of course, that wants nuclear war and is happy to press the button. She says we're all focused right now on Ukraine winning at all costs. That's all that matters. Watch.
We should not give in to those who want a deal which trades away Ukrainian land. They are proposing to pay in Ukrainian lives for the illusion of peace. We will stand with our Ukrainian friends, however long it takes. Ukraine can win, Ukraine must win, and Ukraine will win.
Let's applaud that, yeah, because we don't know what that exactly means. What does it mean for Ukraine to win? Every Ukrainian dead, I guess, is what they plan on. Polish President Duda today telling President Biden that he wants U.S. nuclear weapons brought to Poland.
Okay.
The U.S. has constructed already a brand new military base there, massive military base in Poland, just miles from the border with Ukraine. But yeah, Poland now says it has approached U.S. about sharing nuclear weapons. Poland has spoken to U.S. about bringing these weapons, and they said, after all, we don't have them, and we'd like them to share them. That's literally what he said, almost verbatim quote. Like sharing is caring. Like it's like a Daniel Tiger book, like a kid's book. Here, Daniel, share your nuclear weapons with your NATO friends. Make sure you share them. And so we're going to move nuclear weapons now to Putin's back. Again, think about the Cuban Missile Crisis for a second. When Khrushchev puts nuclear weapons in Cuba, we put nuclear weapons, or we put weapons in Turkey, I believe. And so you're in our backyard. We wouldn't stand for it. We declared the Monroe Doctrine. You cannot have weapons in the Western Hemisphere, right? In America, near American borders. You cannot do it. You can't handle it. And this is exactly the same thing that's happening.
Yes. Yeah. Except there is no Monroe Doctrine violation, and we know it, but we're sort of pretending.
Right. So Nate Silver tweeted this afternoon. He said, just a warning. This is Nate Silver, the guy who gets like all the election results wrong. The guy who, he has the 538 blog, and he gets, I don't know. Anyway, he says, he tweeted this. He's a blue check liberal. He said, just a warning. What are the chances of nuclear war stemming from the Ukraine conflict is a rabbit hole you may or may not want to go down, because it will probably occupy a lot of your brain space once you do. Oh.
That's so nice of him to say, that I should not worry about it. I feel like I've just been patted on the butt and told to run along.
Yeah, don't think about it. Just don't even think about it. Michael Tracy tweets, careful going down this rabbit hole. It may cause you to scrutinize the role of U.S. policy in increasing the chances of nuclear war, and that's not very polite.
No, so don't worry your pretty little head about it, Clayton.
Well, one thing we are worried about is this Nord Stream pipeline, because you can see direct consequences, right, when they destroy the Nord Stream pipeline. And it has a direct consequence on people freezing in Europe and not being able to turn the heat on as a result of it. Will we see another attack on the Nord Stream pipeline? This is the question circulating today, because it looks like one of the major pipes is okay and is actually ready to allow gas flows to start to Germany if Germany will allow it to flow. Now, the people.
So you're telling me that son of a bitch blew up his own pipeline and then fixed it?
Yeah. Yeah. Putin went down there in his little he went right down his little submersible.
The pictures we showed you.
One of our viewers this morning left a comment. I laughed out loud this morning. It was one of the first comments I read on the channel. So I read all your comments, by the way. And it was like, Clayton, don't you understand that they found Russian passports floating in the water above the like joking, of course, right? There was They found ID cards and Russian passports floating above the water where like oh yeah.
Like it was a kamikaze mission from just regular civilians.
And you wear your dog tags.
Passport to war.
See, it was Russians after all. Their passports are floating in the seawater right above the hole.
With some bottles of vodka.
Right. And one of those Russian dolls the little.
Like a nesting doll says, like, we did this.
We did this. When you get to the fourth one inside, it says that. So anyway, will this be attacked again? Will the Nord Stream pipeline be attacked again now that we know that actually they didn't complete the job? Don't
say that.
Well, this is the concern. Russia says, here we go. Do you want to freeze this winter? We've got the gas now. It's ready. Here's a pipe that you guys didn't blow up. Do you want the gas or not? So Germany's got a big question on its hands now, a big problem on its hands. John Kirby, White House lackey under the Biden administration, was asked by Bret Baier about the Nord Stream attack, and he asked him straight out, is it U.S. or U.S. proxy involved in this attack? And just watch John Kirby lie right to us. Watch.
I want to take you to another part of the world and the investigation into this Nord Stream pipeline attack. Did the U.S. or a proxy for the U.S. have anything to do with the explosion on the Nord Stream pipeline?
The United States had nothing to do with it. That's just Russian propaganda and disinformation. Now, we know it was an act of sabotage, but there's an investigation going on right now. I don't think we're going to get into credentialing that in terms of who was responsible. We're going to let the investigators take a look at that, but clearly this was an act of sabotage.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let me get through
I don't
this
know
question
that
real
body
fast.
language. Did you know that when somebody lies, you release a hormone called catecholamine, I think is how you pronounce it, and your nose, it literally makes your nose swell and itch. And so Pinocchio was like based on fact.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And so I'm looking at his nose because I'm like, I don't know. Come on. So when someone like touches their nose, and also these are just sort of signs. This is not catecholamines are real, but also you just notice like when you pull down the corners of your mouth because you don't want to emote too much and like give away. I don't know. This just
Well, he also says U.S. had nothing to do with it, and he quickly moves on. There's an investigation. Look, this is all Russian propaganda, and this is all disinformation. Okay. Really? But you also didn't mention in the allies. He quickly skirted past that part of the question. Before we talk about North...
You can always tell when the U.S. is involved in something because that's the one thing they don't want investigated. We're like so good about that. Like we want to look into everything. We're going to get to the bottom of all of this. But if they're like, well, we don't want to touch this. We'll just let somebody else deal with it. It's like, yeah, that's probably means that we were...
Just one of those things.
Yeah.
It's just something. Sometimes these things happen.
So I wanted to bring your attention to this because this happened late this afternoon, right before we went to air. And so Germany is now denouncing Washington's profiteering of the gas that's being... So listen to this. Follow me on this story. It's actually freaking amazing. The U.S. and other friendly gas suppliers now stepped in the wake of the Nord Stream explosion.
Oh, that was nice of them.
And they're selling their U.S. natural gas and liquefied natural gas to Germany, right? So that instead of coming from Russia, this was the plan all along, of course, right? Well, Germany is calling it out, saying these are absolutely, they're increasing their prices. They're profiteering on this. They're sometimes achieving astronomical prices for their gas. So what do you think about this? They're literally we know that this is the case. Germany is now calling out the United States. The German's economic minister, Robert Habeck, said this afternoon that they are price gouging the Germans on natural gas. So we blow up the pipeline and then we'll send it to them.
Yeah, if we're not going to be, form solidarity during a global pandemic, we're about the profit then. You think we're going to do it for gas? I mean,
we're not going to send you...
That's not life-threatening.
We're not going to send you extra vaccines that we have. We're not going to send you anything like that.
Right. They can give you the formula. China might get it.
I just find this story stunning. Do you have
okay, but
that?
if they actually feel that way, and Russia is saying, but we have the Nord Stream pipeline ready to go, at least one, then does that mean that the appetite to turn this on will change? Maybe.
I mean, if you see the protests that have been hidden in the mainstream media that have been running throughout Berlin, throughout all parts of Germany, to turn on the Nord Stream pipeline, they won't cover this in the mainstream media. It's hard to find it. Certainly not going to see it on CNN. So the people were going to say enough is enough. And if you can get low-cost gas from Germany, which you've already been doing, why would you pay astronomical prices from the price gouging United States who are taking advantage of a situation they created? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So anyway, before we talked about North Korea, let's give you an update on the Elon Musk saga on this, the peace agreement. So you'll recall yesterday we told you how Elon Musk laid out a 4-point plan for how we could end this war. Here it is on your screen. Right? Redo elections of annexed regions under UN supervision. Crimea would formally be part of Russia, as it has been since 1783 until Khrushchev's mistake. Water supply to Crimea would be assured, and Ukraine remains neutral, not joining NATO. Twitter exploded, of course. NATO, everyone slammed Elon Musk. Blue check Twitter. All liberals came out and said, what is this guy, crazy? Zelensky slammed him. Members of the Zelensky government slammed him. Putin responded today. So Putin, from Russia's side, responded today to Elon Musk on this issue through his spokesman, Dmitry Peskov. And he told reporters, it is very positive that somebody like Elon Musk is looking for a peaceful way out of the situation, he continued. Compared to many professional diplomats, Musk is searching for ways to achieve peace, and achieving peace without fulfilling Russia's condition is absolutely impossible, he said.
Okay.
So that's from the Kremlin.
And again, this is another indication that Russia actually does want to talk about peace.
Yes, and they have been, and they had actively been working towards it. And oh, by the way, so was Zelensky. What's amazing is how short their memories are in Ukraine, because this 4-point plan is exactly what Zelensky said he was open to back in March. During an interview with David Muir, he specifically answered these questions that David Muir posed to him in an exclusive interview on ABC. Maybe this will actually help jog the memory of all these warmongers a little bit out there. He said he'd relinquish the idea of joining NATO. He said that was already something he put out of his mind, and that he was willing to negotiate on Crimea and Donbass. And he's actively willing to participate in these conversations, of course, until Boris Johnson stepped in and told him to stop any kind of peace talks. Here's David Muir. Watch this interview.
Called these conditions to end this war. They said you must change your constitution to give up your wishes to join NATO, that you should recognize Crimea as part of Russia, and that you recognize the independence of those 2 Russian separatist regions in the east. Are you willing to go along with all 3 of those conditions? What is your message to Vladimir Putin right now?
First, I'm ready for a dialogue. We're not ready for the capitulation, because it's not me. This is about the people who elected me. Regarding NATO, I have cooled down regarding this question a long time ago. After we understood that that NATO is not prepared to accept Ukraine.
When the Kremlin says these 3 conditions to end the war, that you must give up on joining NATO, recognize Crimea as part of Russia, and recognize the independence of those 2 separatist regions in the east, to Vladimir Putin, who will get this message from you, you say it's a non-starter, not willing to those 3 conditions right now?
He didn't say that. Why are you putting words in his mouth? He literally just said he was open to a dialogue. And so you're telling Putin he's not going to do any of these things, right?
He just said, yeah, okay, if it means we stop dying, I think I can talk about that. You mean you're not going to talk about that, right?
Wait, you
just
realize
said you won't.
You're on American television. We cannot allow you to have peace talks.
I want to bring up 2 things. First of all, you can tell that was edited because he was nodding along in real time. And we know if he's in Ukraine and that guy's in the U.S., we know the latency between us and Portugal. There's no way that the answers would be that quick. And second of all, why isn't he talking like Christian Bale? Well, we need Russia to turn around.
Right.
Like he did in his UN signature.
Well, I think he has come a long way since, being in the national spotlight. I do feel like...
But he can speak English very well. And so why... Again, I always love this sort of theatrics of him speaking Ukrainian and having a translator.
That's all it is.
Yeah, that's all it is. Just the theatrics. Mm-hmm. It's nothing more than that. He's an actor, right? I mean, so that, again, let me just play the end of that, where he specifically talks about those regions. Do we have it still?
I'm talking about security guarantees. I think that items regarding temporary occupied territories and unrecognized republics that have not been recognized by anyone but Russia, these pseudo-republics, but we can discuss and find a compromise on how these territories will live on.
Oh!
And again, at the time, the peace offering was not even full annexation of these regions, but independence.
Independence and security.
Right? You could have not lost them altogether.
So again, this was March. But they don't want you to remember this. They don't want you to remember this interview at all. And you can just see how David Muir is like, but you really don't want to be doing that, right? You want to send a clear message to Putin. It's just unbelievable. But that's the short-sightedness of this. Do you want to bring us up to speed? So, we've got this disaster now potentially unfolding, and I think they're all connected. I think what's happening in North Korea, what's happening in China is a direct relationship to what the United States and NATO are doing in Russia right now. And I think with watching North Korea launch these missiles over the past few days is a way of testing the American resolve. And I think it's like saber rattling, saying, oh, you guys are distracted over there. We're going to start testing some stuff.
Right. This is the 23rd time that North Korea has set off a missile launch. It went straight over
this year.
Yes, this year. I apologize. It went straight over Japan. People in Japan woke up at 7:30 in the morning with an alert on their a text alert on their phone saying, "Shelter in place, don't go outside," because it went whew, right. It did not hit any civilians. No, there was no deaths, but again, there was no warning. And a lot of times, North Korea says we're going to do some test launches, and so the rest of the region has some warning. They did not get that in this instance, and so of course, all the Western powers released their statement saying we strongly condemn this, we don't like it, stop doing this. But that's been happening for years now. And so the United States, along with South Korea, did send up flares of their own, launch at least 5 missiles into the air, what they're calling a show of strength. Just like, hey, we can do that too. This is fun.
Here we go. Let's test some of these things out. What's amazing, too, is if you look at the coverage of this, when Trump was president, right, it was a chance for the liberal media to show weakness in Trump. And CNN went wall to wall with coverage. So this afternoon, take a look. This is CNN.com right now. Okay. I'll go back to the CNN page if you would. So this is CNN right now. This is the front page of CNN.com. And they have no coverage of this missile launch. Nothing. So when Trump was president, it was all over the place, right? It was a chance for liberal media to show weakness in Trump.
I was wondering, is it because we have something like nuclear fatigue? We got to keep you focused on the nuclear possibility from the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Like, don't pay attention to the rest of Asia. We can't be looking there.
What's amazing, I don't know. I think about it. Yeah, let us know in the commentary in the chat as we're watching this, because so you have CNN, you have other mainstream. Literally, it's like no coverage of this. Maybe a little nugget. That's it. They're not even talking about it. That literally air raid sirens. People in Tokyo were sheltering in place because of what the hell was happening from North Korea. Was this China telling North Korea, like their little lapdog, like, hey, launch some missiles. We gotta rattle the Americans and the NATO right now as a precursor to moving on Taiwan. Like this is all eyes on Taiwan, guys. This is still the major point of all of this, right? But people get distracted and they forget about it. So CNN, no coverage of this at all. No coverage of this at all. But when Trump was president, 2017, they even sent a reporter, CNN did, to North Korea to talk about North Korea's massive new weapons capabilities. Watch this. This is inside of North Korea with a CNN reporter. Watch.
I just walked out of a meeting a few minutes ago, Becky, with a government official here who gave us some insight into how this missile was developed. You may recall back in August, North Korea launched a ballistic missile from a submarine. It was a major development because it allowed the North to basically pull a submarine up to an enemy's shores, launch the missile, and they could strike targets in cities.
So here he is inside of North Korea. Like,
how'd he get there?
Now they don't even have coverage on their website. Of these launches, but they're sending reporters there to cover it because, Trump is weak. And then when he goes and actually meets with Kim Jong-un and then no missiles are launched, right? He's threatening to launch missiles, and then Trump goes there and says, don't even try it because our missiles are way bigger. We have way more of them. Don't even try it. And actually hostilities stopped, right? And it got tamped down. And then the liberal media was like, how dare you go and meet with Kim Jong-un and talk to the guy? Like, what is the matter with you?
Well, in CNN's defense, they're broke now, so they can't send any correspondence to North Korea.
Yeah, because North Korea can't afford to put them up in a hotel or anything. Like they're
no.
Yeah. Well, speaking of broke, the United States Army right now. You think about how stretched we are. And again, this is an opportunity maybe for North Korea. This is an opportunity for China. They're seeing things happening. They're seeing what the United States is dealing with, and they're looking at these recruitment goals. The U.S. Army, according to the numbers from August, and I'll show you the most recent numbers, the Army has so far recruited only about half the soldiers it hoped for in fiscal year 2022.
Jeez.
So huge numbers down. And then here's the recruitment goals. This came out this week. The U.S. Army falls 25% short of its recruiting goal. They just can't get people. And so they're having the Air Force, Marine Corps, Navy are dipping into pools of delayed entry applicants to meet these goals right now.
And so it makes you wonder, because we do have, we have a 12-year-old son who has an American passport. Would they start conscripting? How long will this go on, right? Will it affect our children? Of course, this is a self-referencing thought, but it's my first thought.
Well, yeah, but then you have to say, what threat is America under? We're creating these proxy wars. How many wars do we need to be in? At what point do Americans say enough is enough? Bring these people home, get out of Somalia, get out of Syria, get out of Ukraine.
Those things are only said on presidential debate stages. They're never really said seriously in Washington.
Unfortunately. But I think when people see these oil markets and these oil prices that we're going to talk about now, it's, people wonder, like, what the hell are we doing? Mm-hmm. We try to influence, we try to, make partnerships with Saudi Arabia, and we're literally getting crapped on. So we're going to talk about oil prices and how bad things are about to get. If you've noticed, let us know in the chat right now, what are you guys paying for petrol where you live around the world? What are you guys paying for gasoline? Let us know, because it's about to get worse. We're also going to talk about nuclear bunkers and how the rich are preparing for the coming nuclear war. There's a number of companies right now selling these nuclear packages, and I think it's really, really troubling. We're also going to talk about Justin Trudeau, and who's prepared to testify in the trucker convoy disaster. Will we learn anything about what his intentions were there? I see, $3, $4, $7. Holy smokes.
$1.77 a liter for the Europeans. Yeah, I think I recently paid about $1.80 per liter, and that sucked. So
all right.
Well, get ready for $12 per gallon gas. That's what a chair of a major gas company said on Tuesday at the Energy Intelligence Forum in London. And following that prediction, OPEC went and cut gas supply to the world, planet Earth, by 2%. This is Sharif Suki from Tellurian. Tellurian. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. He said getting U.S. gas in the water for $4 to $5 is something of the past. What he means in the water is like on shipping containers. So, getting these $4 to $5 a gallon prices, something on the past. If you really want to justify an investment, you have to start thinking of $10 to $12. That is a price that you would charge consumers. Of course, we all knew that OPEC was going to cut gas supply because they've been hinting about it for the past week. And they had a meeting today in Vienna, and they did just that. They did it because profits have been down for gas companies because demand is down. It's this spiral of sort of domino effect. So global politics have brought on gas price hikes. Gas price hikes caused a drop in demand. And now gas producers are upset that that drop in demand has cut into their profits. So they're manipulating supply to ensure their profits. Now, when you think of this instance of like all the players involved, there's politicians, there's consumers, there's oil producers. The politicians absolutely are playing their part, right? Because of their politics, it's causing a drop in demand and a drop in availability, right? The oil producers, they have a role in it. They can do something. They can manipulate price and supply. The consumers here, we basically can do nothing but bend over. So here is this question in this instance: who loses when gas supply goes up and goes down and prices go up? Is it A, politicians, B, consumers, C, oil producers, or D, Russia? Now the media would have you believe the answer is D, right? We're really sticking it to Russia. The real answer, folks, is B, you.
Oh,
us.
consumers. Okay.
Consumers.
I was thrown.
Who's losing? It's a negative question.
I was thrown
right?
off by the question. I read it like 5 times.
Okay.
And if you're in the chat wondering, are you going crazy? No, you're not.
It's like an SAT question.
There's a word missing. So
okay.
Yes. Who loses when gas supply does and prices go up?
Okay. Yeah.
So when prices does.
Sorry, that was a typo. Okay.
But I was like, am I losing my mind?
You know what? Tonight I have my glasses on. So when I did my screens later, sorry about that. Thank you for pointing that out. That's like when you mistype a tweet and you're like, boy, I feel really stupid.
Yeah.
Okay. The answer is B. It is consumers.
So when okay, I'll just read it. So pretend like it's fixed. Okay. Who loses? Who loses when gas supply goes down and prices go up? Consumers lose.
Consumers.
Okay.
It's you. Okay.
Not surprising.
You know, my father, he has a landscaping company with about 100 employees, and they drive trucks around all of the time, all day, to routes, and I just don't know what he's going to do. He has to keep making more and more cuts because of gas prices.
And he's in California.
He's in California. So let's talk about specifically what OPEC did and then what the media is screaming about. Now, OPEC says they are going to cut 2 million barrels per day from global supply.
Hold on a second. Let's just put that in perspective. The prediction was 300,000 barrels per day. Now, when we covered this a few weeks ago, would be cut. When we covered this a few weeks ago here in Zero Hedge's reporting on this, 300,000 was going to be a real kick in the nuts. Okay, 2 million now is the number instead of 300,000.
Yes, they are calling this a voluntary adjustment. And these countries all agreed to it. Now, OPEC is a group of oil exporting countries. It's kind of like, the original, it was developed in 1960. And then OPEC Plus is kind of like junior varsity team. They are all oil exporters, but they came along later and they all had to vote. Now, the mainstream media is focusing on only one of these member countries to blame this on. So the original OPEC countries were Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Venezuela, and then added later Algeria, Angola, Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, Libya, Nigeria, and the UAE. And then later in OPEC Plus was added an extra 10, Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Brunei, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, Mexico, Oman, Russia, South Sudan, and Sudan. So again, of all of these countries that had to agree to this, right, the mainstream media will tell you it's Russia. This is just like one export of the news that was served to me today about how it's really Russia. It's OPEC aligning with Russia. It's Russia's fault, even though they are only one amongst many oil exporters.
Well, the plus, so it's OPEC plus, and every news article that I read was OPEC plus. The plus stands for Russia. That's what they were saying. Like, that's the Western media spin on this. The plus stands for Russia.
Okay, so let's just parse out the numbers a little bit, okay? Because on the OPEC website, it gives you this chart of what these, what do we call them? Voluntary, what did I just say? Voluntary adjustments are, right? Are we able to zoom in on that? Because if you see who are the biggest exporters of this, I'm sorry, okay. Who are the biggest exporters on this list are in fact Saudi Arabia and Russia. And so they are giving voluntary adjustments, meaning reducing their amount by 526 each one. So it does look like the main drivers of this are Saudi Arabia and Russia. But I decided to take this chart and then just put it in a spreadsheet of my own to parse out the percentages. So I did that, and you notice that they all are ranging from about 4 to 5%. Every country's voluntary adjustment is about the same percentage of what they are producing right now and what they were expected, their projection. And then if you just do a data sort, by percentage, you can see that Russia is not even pulling back the highest percentage of oil. So it's pretty easy to see if you just have a sort of basic understanding of numbers and know how to run a spreadsheet. So why is the West so pissed about this? It's because it will make it harder for them to sanction and stop using Russian oil if there are fewer places that will sell them oil alternatively. So the Saudi energy minister, Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman Al Saud, called out this media bias when he was asked about this today. He says, every time I talk to you, you turn this into a Russian story, and I'm tired of this, so I'm respectfully just not going to talk to you. This is him speaking to a Reuters reporter. Listen.
This is great.
Alex Lawler from Reuters news agency. I had two questions. The first is...
No, Alex, I have to talk to you about... So you have got it wrong.
Okay.
And you have got it wrong twice.
Before I ask a question,
and you will get it the third time if you did, as Reuters did not do a proper job. You talked about Russia doing this and that, and actually the day that your story came out, no one from Russia talked to me, nor I talked to anybody from Russia.
Oh, wow.
You repeated that again with another tale of a story prior to that Saudi and Russia, blah, 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 are congregating around $100 price. That is not true. And I spent 20 minutes from one of your respected members of your bureau in Dubai, explaining to her, or actually 25 minutes, why we don't go as Saudi Arabia for price targeting. And that 25 minutes went in vain, and I really don't like that. I acted in a very respectful way, emanating from respecting the agency, and I think, but you elected to choose a phantom Saudi source.
A phantom Saudi
source. If I can do it as British as I could.
But
and that, my friends, is Reuters for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, keep playing the rest of that. I'm sorry. I was just jumping in because he was like, yeah, you just cited a phantom source, even though you spoke to me and I told you we didn't even talk to Russia. We don't price target. There's no connection with Russia on these price targets. You just went around my back and you made up a story. And he's calling them out right in front of this room. And you've screwed up twice now. I'm not going to answer your questions in front of these people. Anyway, keep playing it.
But if you have questions, direct it to others, but not me. I'm not talking to Reuters until you respect the source, which is the energy minister on behalf of the Saudi government.
Okay, thank you. I won't ask.
So you ask the questions to any of my colleagues.
Okay, so he's saying, look, I'm the guy. If you are actually going to quote me, then don't say that I collude with Russia. Don't say that I'm talking to Russia. That's not happening. And I already told you this. So burn, right? No thanks to the Reuters reporter for this, outlet pushing this narrative of Russia over and over again. Now, CNN reports that President Biden was all but begging OPEC not to do this, not to decrease supply. They describe the administration as having a spasm and panicking. Look at this article. It says, it's important that everyone is aware of just how high the stakes are, said this U.S. official. The White House is having a spasm and panicking, said another official, describing the latest administration effort as taking the gloves off. According to a White House official, the talking points were being drafted and exchanged by staffers and have not been approved by White House leaders or used with foreign partners. So what they're going to say in response to this, they're still drafting it furiously. I'm sure it will have something to do with like sham and Putin's
price hike.
All of that. In a statement to CNN, National Security Council spokesperson Adrian Watson said, "We've been clear that energy supply should meet demand to support economic growth and lower prices for consumers around the world, and we will continue to talk to our partners about that." What exactly they can do at this point is unclear. They said, we're going to see about it. Again, it would be interesting if this led to more sanctions, because that is their strong arm talking point. Like the sanctions got us here, and so we're going to have to sanction, right? Recall that President Biden went to Saudi Arabia to convince them to increase production this summer, even though he said he would never do that. He would never actually meet with Saudi Arabia, or
they'd be a pariah.
He was going to treat them like a pariah. Well, now he's getting the opposite of what he went there and asked for. And the White House is having to scramble to pretend that this did not happen. This was not his fault. And in fact, President Biden was really not that interested in oil when he went to Saudi Arabia. Listen to how the White House wants to have it both ways. Peter Doocy pushed them on this.
You've said the president was responsible for gas prices coming down. Is the president responsible for gas prices going up?
So it's a lot more nuance than that, right?
Oh, we like nuance now. Okay.
There have been global challenges that we have all dealt with. When I say all, meaning other countries as well have dealt with since the pandemic. There's been pandemic and there's been Putin's war. And Putin's war has increase gas prices at the pump. We have seen that over the past several months. And what the president was able to do, he took some historic steps when you think about the Strategic Petroleum Reserve and making sure that we were able to do everything that we can to bring that cost down for American families, give them a little bit more of a breathing room. And we saw that. We saw that every day this summer, saving American families over $1 per gallon. And so that is what the president's going to continue to stay focused on, to our American consumers. How do we continue to keep prices down? That's why we did the Inflation Reduction Act. That's why we talk about the CHIPS Act. All of these things are going to help Americans here in this country.
The Inflation Reduction Act added taxation on foreign gas. So
and the strategic reserves, they're the ones they were selling to China.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and the CHIPS Act. I mean, so
what do chips have to do with gas?
Nvidia can, get lower cost chips, and Nancy Pelosi can make money with her investments. What the hell does chips have to do with the price of gasoline?
I don't know. And when Peter Doocy then asks about this trip to the Middle East, like, well, that was a bust, right? And she goes out, she straight up admits it and says, yeah, that was too bad. No, I'm just kidding. She does the exact opposite. Go ahead.
When the president went to Saudi Arabia, he said, I'm doing all I can to increase the supply for the United States of America, which I expect to happen. What happened?
So I want to be very clear, and we have said that, his trip to the Middle East was not about oil. It was about America's position in the Middle East and consultation with 12 leaders from across the region on a range of issues similar to his summits in Asia or the Americas, and later this year with African leaders. The president's trip was crucial. It was critical to U.S. national security, a more peaceful, integrated region, and for global security. And there were plenty of examples that we laid out to all of you as why this trip was so important.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with oil.
Thank you so much for clearing that up.
Oh, well, they wanted to be friends, but now they absolutely do not. They do not want to be friends because they are taking this very personally, specifically from Russia and Saudi Arabia.
Biden told us specifically then, like when he got back, why he went there. And he specifically laid out, I don't know if we have the soundbite or not, but he specifically laid out, I went there because I was negotiating gas prices, I'm making sure that everything was shored up. And take a listen. This is how he said it after he went. Listen.
We had a good discussion on ensuring global energy security and adequate oil supplies to support global economic growth. And that will begin shortly.
Okay. So Corinne then is lying right to those reporters. Like, no, the president himself said that he went there to talk about this, and it was about structuring oil, making sure that oil would flow to the United States.
Right. And so if we play out her narrative, so you went to be friends, but now you don't want to be friends because we're pissed at them, right?
Right.
So that's how your friendships go.
Let me make this crystal clear, okay? That is not what happened.
Crystal clear.
All right, let me make this crystal clear for you guys because you don't seem to get it.
Are you listening?
Okay.
Are you listening? I'm going to make this crystal clear. Are you listening?
I am listening.
When he leans into the microphone and guys, are you listening?
I'm really going to get them. I'm going to get their attention.
Where's Jackie?
I did that.
Is Jackie here? Where's Jackie?
All right.
Sorry.
Well, let me make this crystal clear, is that the price of crude oil did rise on this news. It had been over $120 a barrel earlier in the year and then had been plummeting to $75 per barrel in September. And now you can see that there is an upward trajectory since speculation began that production would be cut. You see the sort of bottom of this chart hits right on speculation that OPEC will indeed decrease supply. Now, the company line from the West is that this will harm relationships between the East and the West because the Eastern countries that make up OPEC will not let the West play out its sanctions the way it wants to. This is from the Financial Times. The U.S. has considered a range of measures, it says, to respond. A range of measures, right? We don't know what that's going to be. If OPEC succeeds in driving oil prices higher, including restrictions on fuel exports from the U.S., not going to get our gas if you guys do this.
Not gonna work here anymore.
According to these people. Now, analysts said Saudi Arabia's decision to proceed with the cuts that would prop up oil prices and damaged Western governments' efforts to curb Russian oil income used to sustain its war in Ukraine marked a significant moment in Riyadh's 75-year-long energy alliance with the U.S. Right? So they are not going along with the Western effort to sanction Russia And that hurts our feelings because we had a plan, guys, and that plan doesn't work.
Right.
If you pull back our options to not use Russian oil. This quote here from Bill Fahrenprice, a veteran OPEC watcher, which is an interesting title.
What do you do? What do you do for a living? I watch OPEC all day. Like,
I'm an OPEC watcher.
when I'm not outside birding, I'm watching OPEC. See what these guys are doing.
Okay.
Oh, look, there's a red-breasted titterole. I don't know what that is.
What the hell? Okay, I want to get back to this OPEC watcher's quote. He says, Saudi Arabia has set OPEC on a collision course with the free world. They have sided with Russia in the name of protective oil market management. Just as consumers across the world are battling inflation and the rising cost of living, there are bound to be political consequences for Riyadh. Like, you really did us wrong, Riyadh, and we will remember this, that you did not want to harm your own country by going along with our plan to harm other people's countries, and we're going to remember this.
And we're going to remember this when you want us to send you more weapons.
Yeah, one day you're going to turn around, you're going to want this guy, and I'm not going to be here because you hurt my feelings.
You know all those weapons we send you?
Right in front of the midterm election.
You guys listening? I'm going to remember this. I'm going to send you those weapons. You guys remember that?
Hey, and just FYI, there's no titter roll, but there's a titter. And a titter is a half-suppressed laugh or giggle. Her stutter caused the children to titter. So titter roll, I would assume, probably means a little bit more of a giggle.
I see. I liked someone in the chat said they were out there looking for the OPECers.
That is a good one.
That's a good one.
I like that. I like it. All right. Well, that's what's happening, and you know how that's going to hit the rest of us hard in the OPECers.
In the OPECers, let us know what your gas prices are. We're going to watch this because I'm scared about where this, certainly how this is going to affect small business and just average people around the world. Again, those are the people, the consumers, that will get screwed in all of this. I know we're laughing here at the end, laughing at this hypocrisy of these people, but at the end of the day, this is a direct relationship to people being screwed by these globalists. And this is what we need to throw these people out, these bums out, by watching this show, by sharing this show, by having this awareness, calling up your representatives, telling them, demanding change. We're seeing this. We're seeing this change happening in countries. We're seeing it happening in Brazil. We're seeing people rising up and saying enough is enough. We're seeing it in Italy. We're seeing it in other places. So we can affect change. And I want you to all feel empowered by that because it's happening. We can make a difference when we all get together and push these globalists out of the way.
I was just thinking about like community taxes, your local city tax or your state tax, how much more we will pay if there is an increase in because how are you going to run the school buses?
Right.
How are you going to run police force? How are you going to, there absolutely is not enough electric vehicles on any of those fleets, nor will there be. And I don't know how some of these local communities can continue to go at $12 a gallon.
No, $12 a gallon. I mean, people are suffering now at $5 a gallon. How are you going to do this? It's unbelievable, and they don't care.
My daughter's school, it's about a 20-minute drive, so it's a 40-minute round trip to get her to school. So if it hits $12 a gallon, I'm better off just pulling her out and homeschooling her.
Wow. Yeah.
Seriously,
that's crazy.
That is crazy. Yeah.
You're going to see a lot of people doing that.
Our kids take the bus, and I was thinking, like, the bus is not going to be able to keep running if at this kind of loss. They'll have to increase our either I don't know,
I feel like
they're gonna have to pass
I feel like
those
I'm
on
Airplane, the movie, like, I picked the wrong week or the wrong month to start overlanding.
I picked the wrong month. I picked the wrong month to stop sniffing glue. Well, we've got more news to get to here on Redacted. First of all, I just want to say, if you subscribe to the channel while you're watching us here, your name will pop up there. Like new subscriber, Jean-Marc Jusham just became a subscriber. It's free. You can be a subscriber. Just click the little button there. And if you're watching us on Rumble, do the very same thing. We love our Rumble family over there as well. We're going to get to your super chats and your Rumbles in just a moment, but we've got more news to get to. We're going to talk about these nuclear bunkers. We're also going to look at what's going on with Justin Trudeau in Canada and a lot of craziness around the trucker convoy that wasn't reported. So hopefully we can get some answers on dictator Trudeau. But first, do you guys know that identity theft is the fastest growing crime in America? There's a new victim every 14 seconds. That's crazy. That's why I'm excited to partner with today's sponsor, Aura. Now, last year we had our entire Facebook account taken over by hackers. Do you remember this, David? David was
remember.
And Natalie, well, David was frantically trying to figure out how to get it back. Turned out it was like some Vietnamese, hacking group, or I don't even know where it was. But it was ridiculous. It wasn't Russia, but nevertheless, they took over the whole account, and we couldn't get into our account for our business for anything for like a month. It took that long. And they were posting things. It was really odd, and it was really harmful. Aura is identity theft protection, fraud monitoring, a VPN, password management, and antivirus software all combined into one easy-to-use app. You might have one of those services already, like an individual one, but if you don't have all of these tools at your disposal, it's like locking the front door but leaving the back door wide open. And those who have had their identity stolen are often shocked when it happens. Like, we woke up and what the heck? we can't even get into Facebook to do our business, to do any of it. Nothing. It was all locked. Imagine trying to log into your email account one day, only to see the password has changed hours ago, and then you start getting notifications of activity from your bank, and you can't get access to that. Your credit cards, your crypto accounts, all of that being used. It's happening constantly. Has anyone watching right now in our chat, let us know, have you had an identity theft issue? Have you had someone hack your account, steal a password, anything like that? It's scary. And unfortunately, a reality for so many people. Thankfully, Aura monitors the dark web for your emails, passwords, and social security numbers and sends out alerts fast. This is how the alerts work. Watch this. See these little notes up here in the bell? You get all of these little login credential notifications that pop up if someone's found on the dark web. Like, oh, your email was found on the dark web. And when I signed up for Aura, they found 4 different instances of my email and passwords available on the dark web. I was like, wait, what? How? This is available that someone could buy and hack me? So that's what Aura does. They monitor this stuff so you can protect you from these guys. Aura also gives you near real-time alerts on suspicious credit card inquiries. Like if someone was opening a loan or a credit card in your name, that happens to people all the time. Mm-hmm. Protect your family and yourself from identity theft right now by going to aura.com/redacted, we'll also have a link in the description below. So in the show description, you can go there and click on it there if it's easier for you, if you're driving right now or something else. So aura.com/redacted. If you sign up right now, Aura will give you a 2-week free trial with my link, so you can see for yourself how many times that Aura finds you or your family's members, like personal info on the dark web. So just try it for 2 weeks for free, and you'll find what of your stuff is out there. And then if you sign up, let me know in the comments below if any of your personal information was found, if it's been compromised. You can try it right now if you want to try it. Aura.com/redacted. You won't regret at least checking it. It's free for 2 weeks. Just try it. So go to aura.com/redacted. So our thanks to Aura for sponsoring the show. We really appreciate it. All right, let's talk about these globalists. So this is unbelievable. We heard Peter Thiel, billionaire. Now you'd think, oh, it's just billionaires. A few billionaires are building some bunkers, right? They're preparing for what's coming. No. This is getting much bigger and much worse. You're starting to hear about not just billionaires, millionaires, and a lot of rich people who are now trying to go off the grid, build bunkers because what they believe is going to happen, which is a nuclear fallout. Some sort of a nuclear attack that they're going to try to go underground, protect their family, and bunch of big businesses have now popped up as a result of this. This is unbelievable, according to the Rob report. Apocalypse Wow, these insane new bunkers let you build a complete luxury home underground, according to the Rob report. So let's just kind of go through this. I mean, first of all, how many of you watching right now would, because to me, I don't know, my thought is like, if that happens, like what is there to live for at that point? Like what's left? You're just gonna, I don't know. You're gonna hide out. It's almost like in the movie. It's like in the TV show Lost. You know, where the guy is just in that bunker. That's his life. Yeah. Just pressing that button. Like what? Really? This is what we're gonna do if the zombie apocalypse happens? I know they kind of joke about this. You know, Rob Report's kind of joking about this being the zombie apocalypse. No, it's gonna be a nuclear attack. Is what would happen. Right. Or some sort of globalist takeover that drives down our energy grid. Did you see what happened in Bangladesh overnight? 170 million people without electricity because the electric grid just totally collapsed mysteriously. Why? So all of these people without power. Look at Florida. could be 4 weeks until electricity is restored to these areas.
That's crazy.
So Opidium is a supplier of fortified underground residence. They've unveiled their new La Heritage bunkers. Take a look at this. You can drink your scotch with your favorite friends. You can have an art gallery.
Oh, you would put your art in there, of course.
You have your art gallery. Look at this. These are all oxygen tanks. And you have your own, hydroponic garden or whatever. And you're going to go to bed. You wave your hand over a thing. The vaulted gate doors open. You go through your art gallery. You can still enjoy all of your priceless art. You can breathe fresh, non-radiated air in these bunkers. These are people who want to live lavishly, according to their designers. Mark Prescient is their design firm that built this thing.
Okay. By yourself then? And then, all I can see is when I look at those oxygen tanks is they are finite.
Right. Like at what point, unless you're pulling back in air through some sort of recirc process.
Yeah. So then what?
I don't know. And that's a good question. They're saying to achieve that, they have over 10,000 square feet of space in these things. And they are customized for the owner's tastes, with an option of choosing to add extra facilities such as a private art gallery, a garage big enough to house your entire collection, meeting lounges, indoor gardens, even a spa with a private pool all along. Not to mention enough bedroom suites to accommodate everyone in your family.
Okay, let me just play this out. I'm all alone in the world, but I can hang out in my own spa. Or am I in the spa and my kids are there too? Because that's not relaxing. I just don't know. And, or am I in the spa and I feel relaxed because the rest of the world is gone and I'm okay by that? Like, so many questions, right? Under what circumstances am I enjoying the spa?
Like what? I don't know. According to the CEO of the company, says there are places of serenity and absolute safety for owners and their families. We are privileged to offer our clients the highest levels of service, creating beautiful places that will protect them from their legacy for generations to come. So it's all about protecting the rich people's legacy. So Peter Thiel building a bunker in New Zealand, a number of billionaires doing that, but millionaires now, and people who aren't millionaires building bunkers attached to their homes. And so all of these companies are now catering, and they are so backed up with business that they're scheduling people a year out at this point. People are being scheduled a year out to build bunkers and safe zones in their house, protected.
That's a lucrative business. So, hey, if you have any carpentry experience, now's the time to add that to your repertoire, what you can offer your clients.
Here is they're doing this in the EU, the USA, UK, and the United Arab Emirates. Here, you can watch now, here is their trailer. This is their marketing trailer, and they explain in more detail about these bunkers. Watch.
Klappe auf und ab in den geheimen Luxusbunker.
Oh, you can drive
Denn
into
wenn
it.
die Welt schon untergeht, wie wäre es dann mit eigenem Kino- und Gaming-Paradies, einem schönen Pool und einer üppigen Bar? Ein Start-up aus woher sonst der Schweiz glaubt fest daran, dass wenn Menschen in den Bunker fliehen, der dann wenigstens auch ein paar Annehmlichkeiten haben darf. Wir bauen hochwertige unterirdische Bunker direkt neben der Villa des Kunden unter dem Garten. Kernstück ist der Wohnbereich, der im Prinzip alles hat, was die Wohnhäuser darüber auch haben. Hier kann man sich vor der Bedrohung schützen. Das Versprechen, ganz gleich ob draußen ein Krieg oder eine Klimakatastrophe tobt, bis zu 10 Jahre ist man hier autark und in größtmöglichen...
So if there is, look at the screen, if there is a nuclear winter, you're good to go for 10 years. 10 years in there, you don't have to worry about it. It could be.
And then what?
This feels like the plot of Kingsman. You guys seen the Kingsman?
Yes.
No, but there's a bunker
like.
scene.
It's like, hey, let's get everybody in there in the bunker.
And then what? Oh, you don't have to give away.
And then blow their heads off.
Oh. There is a bunker scene in Greece too.
Okay.
That's where I go to.
Yeah. I remember that scene.
Thanks for bringing that up.
They couldn't make that today, could they?
It's a great song. It goes along the great song called Let's Do It for Our Country.
Safe für die privaten Goldreserven und anderen Wertgegenstände ist natürlich auch dabei. Die frische Luft in der Luxusherberge unter der Erde soll zumindest einen Monat halten, so das Unternehmen, dank Luftreserve und internem Zirkulationssystem. Der Name der Firma und ihres Produkts Oppidum ist Programm. Das lateinische Wort kann mit befestigte Siedlung übersetzt werden.
There you go. You can sign up for your nuclear fallout bunkers, as the rich people are doing right now. And they know something is coming. They absolutely are preparing for it.
I mean, do they, or is this the new Cipro? Remember how people tried to get Cipro when anthrax in the mail was the big thing? Like, don't open your mail, there's anthrax in it. And so everyone was trying to...
So it's legal to be a prepper. It's okay to be a prepper if you're doing it with $1 million bunkers, but not food. Like,
right.
I get it.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you know, again,
also,
go ahead, please.
I was going to say, I've seen articles on this where it's the whole motivation, especially for like the billionaires, is not entirely nuclear fallout. It's also the repercussions of their actions when society realizes how screwed they are. The people they're going to be looking for are the people that did the screwing, and they're all going to be nice and safe in their bunkers.
Oh, okay.
The rising
That's where
up.
they'll be.
Well, yeah. I mean, look at what happened. You know, you're the rising up in Sri Lanka, and you have the people that storm the palace. And,
Yes,
you know,
the president of Sri Lanka could have used a bunker.
yes, protected underground.
Case value. Yes,
Through,
case
like,
use.
you know, like 6 feet of steel or whatever it is to block people, the proletariat from coming to your homes. Let us know. Would you buy one of these bunkers? Let us know in the chat if you would. Yes. Yes. We're going to talk about Justin Trudeau.
I got the DIY model.
Oh, you did? Where you can build it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a box. Like, I got it from Amazon. It's cardboard, but I think it'll hold up if it's underground.
And did you paint it like a rocket ship?
Not yet.
Okay.
Hey, we're going to get to Justin Trudeau in a second. We're going to talk about what's going on with our dictator to the north. But let's talk about your dictator to the south, which is it's a fresh ball fall, and it's Manscaped time.
That's pretty good.
It's the season of pumpkin spice and making sure your crotch looks nice. That means sipping cider in a fall breeze and using Manscaped products to trim your trees, if you know what I mean. That's right. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Manscaped, one of our favorite sponsors of the show, because they've got a great sense of humor. If you don't have a sense of humor, we don't want to talk to you. It's a company that makes sure that you know your foliage isn't the only thing shedding its excess leaves this fall. Heck, even Mother Nature knows it's time to lose that extra clutter for the fall. So join the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com to get 20% off and free shipping when you use the coupon code Redacted. Now, I'm telling you, I mean, I love their the nose trimmer, the weed whacker, all of their stuff. Their stuff is fantastic. So Christmas is coming up. Order some. I'm telling you. And even if you're just ordering it for yourself, you get 20% off. Manscaped.com. Use the code Redacted. So, again, I absolutely love it. I love their underwear. I love their wireless charging. I love that I can shave like the sideburns and do stuff like in the shower. It's waterproof. It charges fast and it lasts for a long time. I haven't had to like recharge my Manscaped thing in like months. That's how long the battery lasts. In this thing, the weed whacker is fantastic for ear and nose hair stuff. When you're getting older, you're suddenly like, why do I have ear hair? Like, what the hell? How did that happen?
There must be a biological.
Oh, and how does it grow so fast? That's another
what the
question.
hell? What the hell's happening? The ear hair. Like, I look at my son; he's 12. I'm like, you don't even know what's coming, buddy. Ear hair, and it's just like little bit. I'm like, it's beautiful to use Manscaped. So go to manscaped.com, get 20% off and free shipping with code Redacted. That's 20. They have, by the way, they have an all aluminum free Ultimate Premium deodorant too. You can try that. They also have a 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. So I love that in the shower. It smells fantastic. Again, they have their performance package and their platinum package 4.0. Go to their website and just check it out. There's going to be something there you're going to want to get for Christmas or for yourself just right now for the fall. Manscaped.com. Get 20% off, free shipping, and use the coupon code Redacted. That's 20% off with free shipping. Manscaped.com when you use that code Redacted. Manscaped. Clear out the leaves. It's your tree trunk's time to shine. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Manscaped.
Deck the balls.
Deck the balls with... Is that what someone said in the chat?
No, that's what I said.
Oh,
I
good,
came
good.
up with that.
Good, I like that.
All right.
All right, let's talk about the dictator to the north, Justin Trudeau. We haven't done a Justin Trudeau story in a while.
Right. So we're gonna. The question is today, let me take that again. The question is, will Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau actually be held accountable for taking away civil liberties of Canadian citizens earlier this year during the trucker convoy? He is set to testify in a few days, and how and why he enacted the Emergencies Act during these protests.
Oh, this will be good. Will we get any information? I mean, why?
I mean, my sense of it is he's going to be pretty, practiced and have a lot of standard lines, things we've already seen.
Right.
But the question is, will there be anyone there to push him? Will there be any documents? We were promised documents. So let me just give you a little background. The trucker convoy was a gathering to protest COVID vaccine mandates that would cost people their jobs if they did not take the COVID vaccine. It was not anti-vaccine. It was anti-vaccine mandate, particularly for people who had worked during the pandemic, and society owed a great debt of gratitude, and those people did not deserve walking papers for making a choice about their own health. The protesters came to Ottawa to speak with politicians, particularly Prime Minister Trudeau, but they never got that chance. He refused to meet with them. Instead, he called them extremists and racists. Here is a reminder of what he told Canadians, that anyone who questions the vaccine is an extremist and a racist. He's speaking French in this interview, and there are subtitles.
Oui, on va s'en sortir de cette pandémie par la vaccination. Puis on en connaît tous des gens qui sont en train d'hésiter un petit peu. On va continuer d'essayer de les convaincre. Mais il y a aussi des gens qui sont farouchement opposés à la vaccination.
Qui sont extrémistes.
Qui croient pas dans la science, qui sont souvent misogynes, souvent racistes aussi. C'est un petit groupe, mais qui prend de la place. Et là, il faut faire un choix en tant que leader, en tant que pays. Est-ce qu'on tolère ces gens-là ou est-ce qu'on dit, voyons, la plupart des gens, presque 80% des Québécois ont fait ce qu'il fallait faire, se sont fait vacciner, on veut revenir aux choses qu'on aime faire. C'est pas ces gens-là qui vont nous bloquer maintenant.
Right. It was
racist
at the time. Yes. And misogynist. I don't know what gender has anything to do with. And he was saying at the time, you could sort of still get away with saying you vaccinate yourself for other people, right? And we all can't get back to our lives if we don't all get vaccinated. We now know that there is no science behind that the vaccine has nothing to do with the spread. At the time, the protests grew and government action against them too. The money that they raised on GoFundMe was taken from them. They were threatened with arrests. Many of them were arrested. They had their cell phones tracked. Many of them were unbanked. They could not access their own bank accounts and credit cards because of this Emergency Act, which declared these protests illegal and made it illegal to participate in any way, right? Including, funding, websites, whatever.
Yeah, GoFundMe. There was a whole PayPal was shutting them down.
Yes. All because of the science, right? We now know, though, from a separate lawsuit in Canada that the government didn't have science before the rules. In fact, it was the other way around. In discovery for a civil suit, emails came out from a government authority that said they were basically asking one another, like, what's some science we can use when we communicate these rules? So the rules came before the science, not the other way around. We know this now.
Right.
When Prime Minister Trudeau enacted the Federal Emergencies Act in Canada, it was the first time it had ever been used in the country's history. As soon as it was enacted, it declared this protest illegal and made any participation at any level illegal. You may recall this was unpopular. It earned him this reception in European Parliament from parliamentary member Christine Anderson.
Based on Article 195, out that it would have been more appropriate for Mr. Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, to address this House according to Article 144, an article which was specifically designed to debate violations of human rights, democracy, and the rule of law, which is clearly the case with Mr. Trudeau. Then again, a Prime Minister who openly admires the Chinese basic dictatorship, who tramples on fundamental rights by persecuting and criminalizing his own citizens as terrorists just because they dared to stand up to his perverted concept of democracy, should not be allowed to speak in this House at all. Mr. Trudeau, you are a disgrace for any democracy. Please spare us your presence. Thank you.
Please spare us your presence.
All right. So again, the Emergencies Act, it gave the Trudeau government the right to increase use of force and threat to protesters. Here is the Prime Minister when he announced it. And I forgot that he wore his hair kind of like Molly Ringwald here. So that's a little bit distracting because he doesn't wear it like this anymore. So try and get past it.
Really quick before you go to that, to add to that, like I believe it also gave them the ability, because they got into a lot of people's bank accounts during the trucker protests, and then there have been people that have, even here, that have said that they've gone after their money, their funds for the campaigns that went on through like GoFundMe or whatever. Mm-hmm. So it gave him that kind of power as well, I guess, to look into people's bank accounts. I don't know if that
of course,
part of that, but
yeah. And so one of the questions is, will they, in this inquiry, then talk about how it was implemented with these online accounts and the account services. But let's hear how he justified it at the time.
Here's how the measures we're taking today will help get the situation under control. The police will be given more tools to restore order in places where public assemblies can constitute illegal and dangerous activities, such as blockades and occupations, as seen in Ottawa, the Ambassador Bridge, and elsewhere. These tools include strengthening their ability to impose fines or imprisonment. The government will designate, secure, and protect places and infrastructure that are critical to our economy and people's jobs, including border crossings and airports. We cannot and will not allow illegal and dangerous activities to continue. The Emergencies Act will also allow the government to make sure essential services are rendered, for example, in order to tow vehicles blocking roads. In addition, financial institutions will be authorized or directed to render essential services to help address the situation, including by regulating and prohibiting the use of property to fund or support illegal blockades.
The Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau,
we'll go ahead and stop it there. He was talking about whatever property we could take, right? To make sure that this stops. We're not getting this inquiry because of political motivation. We're getting it because that's the law in Canada. The law mandates that an inquiry take place within 60 days of the declaration being revoked, although it's very late because the declaration was revoked on February 23rd. We are well past 60 days from that. And the inquiry was delayed even further because the judge who was running it had to have surgery unexpectedly. So hearings are supposed to begin October 13th. There is a separate parliamentary inquiry going on. Maybe we'll see something like that. So this one is not necessarily like one of these congressional hearings where we get senators who grandstand and be like, Mr. Zuckerberg, you do these bad things and I'm saying that to you, right? There may not be this. It seems a little bit more like this is just the law, but Canadian Parliament may separately have that too. We will see. We may get some interesting tidbits because according to the commission that is running it, these are the types of things they are going to show us, a variety of witnesses, including protesters. So they will interview some of them. We'll see.
Oh, so people will be able to get up there and say, hey, my life was destroyed as a result of this. You destroyed my business. You destroyed my family. You took away my truck. You took away, you froze my bank account.
Right.
I hope we get to hear from some of these people.
We will see. Yes, I'm curious to how these participants were vetted. Also representatives of all levels of law enforcement, officials from federal, provincial, and municipal governments, and individuals, businesses, and organizations impacted by the protesters, and also ministers and other officials. So, I want to know, what was the conversation they had with Venmo? What was the right that they had to tell Venmo or PayPal or GoFundMe, you have to revoke this money, don't give it back to them?
So we'll get to see that.
I hope. I'm asking, and because the public was able to submit documentation, maybe my bank account was taken or what have you. I don't know. I want to know, again, these internal conversations, like we can't meet with them because we have to continue this because, right? Or was there really nothing that the Prime Minister could have said about vaccine mandates, even at this point when we knew that the vaccine did not prevent the spread of COVID. And so at that point, did he just not want to admit that in order to not impact his national vaccination program? And, again, and then this is an interesting question. Was there conversation about why he would not meet with these people particularly? Because if you look at June of 2020, here's a video of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau meeting with Black Lives Matter protests. This is June of 2020, when the narrative was that that all social distancing was necessary, right? At this time, kids were still in virtual school. Many kids didn't go back to school. Why was this allowed?
Because he had to go out and do a woke little demonstration.
But he could not come out and talk with protesters about their legitimate concern about their vaccination status and their health, right?
Right.
And so what's the science that said it's okay to go out into this gathering in close-knit groups of people and take a knee because I have a mask, right? But I cannot go out and meet with these people 7 months later because, right? The media is kind of covering this as if, oh, wow, he's courageous. He's going to show up and answer for it. But I think it'd be kind of ballsier of him not to, because this inquiry is a federal requirement. He knew it when he enacted it because it's written into the law. So we will see. We'll see what we see.
Let us know in the chat what you think. Will we get some real answers in Canada? We will be covering it. We've been covering what this dictator has been doing up there. And he is very, very closely aligned with the World Economic Forum and is, actively trying to remake this country in the eyes of these globalists and shutting down farms and all of the things that we follow here on the show he's been doing in Canada, maybe even to a higher degree than a lot of other countries. So we will be watching that very closely. All right, we're going to get to your super chats here in a second, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. If you subscribe, your name will pop up here on the big board. I should mention we have a daily newsletter, again, totally free. I'd love for all of you to sign up. We've got 30,000 people or so watching right now. Please sign up. It's, again, totally free. I think it'll bring you real value during your cup of coffee over the morning. We usually try to publish it around 6 a.m., 6:30 Eastern time, depending on where you are in the world. If you go to redacted.inc, again, you can read it in about 5 to 10 minutes over your cup of joe first thing in the morning.
All right, we're going to get to your super chats in just a minute. Thank you so much for those. But first...
Yes, our friends over at Moomoo are sponsoring today's show. They have this promotion going on right now where they're giving you 15 free stocks for opening your account. Again, you don't have to do anything with this account at the moment. You can just open the account, make your initial deposit. Again, I opened my account with $100, and you could just let it sit there. And so you haven't spent any money. You've got 15 free stocks, and you can wait. And you can do nothing with it while this market is crazy. And you can just let these stocks grow in value and hang on to them. You can even sell the stocks and you've got the free money. They're valued up to $32,000. They do kind of a spinning of the wheel, and each stock can be worth up to $2,000. You might get an Apple stock. It doesn't really matter. You're going to be able to get some great stock and just hang on to it. So again, 15 free stocks valued up to $32,000 by going to redacted.inc/Moomoo. You have to use that link, and you can trade anything there. You can trade all your normal stocks, like I buy different commodity stocks. That's where I do it with Moomoo. You can also trade crypto, and you can learn about how to trade. Also, if you're not going to touch your account for a while, they have a whole e-learning platform that you can follow along with and take some of their courses. They're totally free. So it's built in right inside the app. It's a NASDAQ listed company. It works great on Google Play, on your iOS device, on your Mac, your PC. You get great alerts, and you can really follow what's happening in the markets. Certainly on the oil markets right now, stuff I watch very closely. What's happening in oil, gold and silver, what's happening in uranium markets, and all of the different commodities markets around the world. It's the stuff that drives the world economy. So again, get 15 free stocks. Redacted.inc/Moomoo is the place to go, and grab it yourself. Someone just said, Clayton, you are blessed. Natali is a Chipotle. So it's a.
I don't want to be a chapati.
You're a roasted. You're a roasted jalapeno.
You're a roasted jalapeno. She is.
Thanks.
She can be.
I can be spicy.
She can be spicy. All right, let's get to our super chats. We'd have to power through these.
Yes, we'll power through. I'm just going to read them quick unless they're... I read them quick. I can sometimes start reading the bad ones, so I'll stop mid-sentence.
Okay. We'll stop. We'll be like, if we say, whoa.
And I'll see what we've got on Rumble. We've got our Rumbles over there as well. The Rumble, The only problem is that they zip by and then you can't go back and access them on Rumble.
Exactly. That's what I was... I'm going to reach out to them about that. But, yeah, I've been watching over there. Adventure 9 with a super sticker. Texas Casey and Bun's dad, super stickers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ghosty 12, I was talking about lobstering in my last comment. It is eerily similar to WEF case. The right whale conservation groups are funded by investors in offshore wind. 0 right whale deaths ever in Maine. 0 entanglements in 18 years.
Wow.
Red, White, and Blue wants you to do a movie review of Dr. Strangelove.
Oh, I love that movie.
That's hell yeah.
Classic.
Yeah.
We're in it right now.
Rumple Gold, I will happily brag I'm best friends with Natali and Clayton Morris.
Yes, you are.
All right. Let's see what that gets you.
Right.
David Yarborough, wasn't there a big nuclear scare with Russia-US?
We're in it right now.
In the 80s?
Oh, in the 80s? Yeah.
Might be...
Hans Wolf, hey, y'all, get your Grover badges. Just hit 2 years.
Awesome.
Oh, awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Alexander Linson, they have taken the domino effect off the shelf. Lapse droit, capitalism cannot survive without militarism. Karl Marx.
Oh, yeah.
Mind of Jama, reason I am pro-Putin is the same way they did those opposed to the censorship for COVID. They do censorship for Ukraine. I hate that crap.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Leah Short, maybe Europeans are worried about appeasement.
Oh, wow. We just got some breaking news here, actually. You know, we've been following the story on Daria Dugina, who was killed in August. And she was, of course, assassinated. She's the daughter of a
Russian associate of Vladimir Putin.
Yes. Not even an associate, like a tangential, like, interest. The Western media was like, they're best friends. And Alexander Dugin wasn't. Anyway, the U.S. is now admitting that, yes, Ukraine did kill Daria Dugina. Like, we all knew this immediately. It was on camera. It was captured. The U.S. is now admitting, yes, Ukraine did this. So that is according to the New York Times is reporting this on Wednesday. Interesting. So bringing you that story.
That is interesting.
Yeah. We'll have more on that in the newsletter tomorrow morning.
Hey, Clayton, question. Do you think Biden will have all Trump voters arrested?
I don't know. Likely try to do that if he could.
60 million people? Or
yeah,
right.
70
well, he
million?
speaks in that way by calling them extremists.
Yeah.
And so when we think about what Trudeau did by calling his enemies extremists, so it's
we barely have room for the nonviolent offenders we have now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Rick Seraphin, article Nord Stream 2 ready to go from the stern.
Yeah.
Lilianth Valley, peace now.
Yes.
Mind of Jamal meant censorship towards those opposed to the COVID narrative, with a follow-up to the other one.
Yeah.
Nick Mastelovich, super sticker.
Thank you.
Ibrahim West have been... I'm not sure what that says. Gerald Armstrong, Nate Plastic. Rumple Gold, LOL, nuclear research might consume headspace. I'm pro Amber Heard and I'm still living that trial, so I doubt nuclear war will put me out.
You don't have the bandwidth for anything else. Okay. That was your big story of the year. Take a break.
That's funny.
Andrea Viola, I feel bad for Ukrainian citizens. I feel bad for Russian citizens. I feel bad for American citizens. All three are being destroyed in one way or another. So true. Mary Rabley, it is a little odd that Poland and Norway pipeline opened the next day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you believe in coincidences? I don't.
Not that kind.
Right.
Chad L. This is a multi-front assault run by the Committee of 300 to steal the last attainable wealth, depopulate and unsheathe in world communism. This will likely end in fulfilling biblical prophecy.
I think, the mark of the beast is like upon us.
Missykins. Okay, Redacted. Here's my prediction. The U.S. will be told to shelter in place before the midterms and or the next presidential election.
Ugh.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't doubt it, guys. I mean, we're seeing these climate lockdowns coming. We're already seeing it. They're forcing it upon us. Like, oh, we don't have gas. Don't drive. We're California already did it.
Yeah.
California already did it. Stay home. Don't spend money. Don't charge your electric car. Don't drive your car. We can't afford it. Stay home. So it's coming.
Wolfgang Brower's Photography with a super sticker. Thank you. Frosty Young, I am an owner-operator of a semi, and I think I can speak for the rest of drivers out there. If the fuel prices get too high, most of us will stay at home. What happens to the economy then?
Yeah. I don't know.
We're seeing layoffs like crazy right now. I mean, who do we just cover in the newsletter was laying off a huge amount of people? I mean, we already seen the banks are laying. Facebook
is talking about 12,000 potentially.
Yeah, huge. And when you have the banks are laying people off, I'm telling you, we've been warning you guys on this show. It's coming.
Hearthcore, are you guys going to cover interview with Tony Bobulinski by Tucker Carlson about Biden's family business with China and Russia in some other session?
Bobulinski, maybe. We might cover it in the newsletter, perhaps. Yeah, perhaps. I know it's an interesting interview, what he says about Hunter Biden and all, of course, the very latest on that. So we only have, we try to put as much content as we can in the show. Be a 5-hour show.
Darren Daly, the Biden U.S. military shifted away from a fit and ready force able to wage war against foreign enemies. Its new goal is to field a smaller but compliant and woke military to wage war within the U.S. Jody May with a super sticker. Frosty Young, if gasoline reaches $12 a gallon, what does that make diesel, as it's usually $2 more than that? I guess it'll just be parking my truck along with 50,000 other truck drivers.
Jeez.
Heather T with a super sticker. Thank you. Bald Eagle, in a bunker, not seeing the sky for years can drive anyone insane, and they will fight each other. That's not a way to live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Emmanuel Dixon, I'm being blocked from saying certain things to you. Why? That is not true. YouTube does that, not us. So.
Well, he may be being blocked, but not by us.
Yeah.
Right. Our mind is of 3 categories: what we know, what we don't know, and what we don't know, we don't know. Not knowing is unfortunate. Not knowing that we don't know is tragic. W. L. Hart. That's from Emmanuel as well. Ibrahim, Trudeau equals Fidel Castro's son. I've heard that many, many times, but no proof to that that I've seen. Spanky 9740, in a bunker for years. Anyone see The Shining?
Yeah. Although that wasn't a bunker, at least you could look outside if you needed to. Yeah.
Candy Mitch, Canadian government can still freeze citizens' bank accounts. Last I checked, this was correct. Please verify.
Oh, well, that state of emergency that allowed that ended, I thought I said the 23rd of February.
Yeah.
So
sunset.
I don't know if they are still doing that. They're not supposed to.
Emmanuel Dixon, legal or lawful, we can always change the game. Find a comment I left on how. It's a book. Okay, I'm done. LOL.
Okay. I didn't see the book recommendation.
Rainmaker, Trudeau has no idea what's coming. Canadians are done with him. The WEF and elites. The truckers was the start. Wait until the farmers come out. Salt. 2 salt shakers. Just me, Nicole. Those mandates were just suspended this week, not canceled. Suspended. Bet he puts them back into play in a month. Should be live on CPAC channel on YouTube.
Okay.
We'll be watching.
Bart Heweed, please look up the 21 raw materials that are in the ground in the Donbass. Europe needs them for the Green Deal. It's worth $7.5 trillion used. If Donbass is Russia, Europe can't mine them.
Oh, yes. Yeah. We've covered. Natalie's been talking about that on the show. We've been talking about the mineral rich nature of the Donbass. So absolutely the case.
Yes, it's the rare earth metals, and there's only like 2 major places on Earth that they come from. One of them is in Ukraine, and one of them is in China.
Right. And the demand for
a lot of things.
Yeah, the demand for uranium, the demand for these chips. And so I think Russia's going to let Zelensky run that show.
No. Riley, Pierre Poilievre for PM of Canada.
Okay.
Or Poilievre, something like that. Imani Malik Butler, you and some comics are best sources of truth. Dave Chappelle, Ryan Brandt, Jimmy Dore, etc. Please share your thoughts about White Hat Putin, Trump, and Z if they ally with the United States of Africa.
Well, my thought is we are seeing the change in the New World Order, right? If the United States, we are seeing the waning days of a U.S. hegemony right now, right? And so you're seeing this is what people do when they're desperate. They are collapsing, and so they are trying to bring other people down with them. They're doing everything they can right now to shore up the strength of the U.S. dollar as the reserve currency of the world. And you see this alliance with Russia and BRICS nations, South Africa, aligning itself with Brazil and China and India. And that is going to be, in many ways, probably the New World Order. Currencies backed by commodities, backed by gold, backed by silver, backed by uranium, backed by the things that they're able to pull out of the earth. It's the exact opposite of what the World Economic Forum wants. They don't want these currencies. They want them digitally. They want to be able to track you. They don't want them tied to any commodities. They want to be a debt-based economy. So you're literally seeing, this New World Order shifting. And so that's what I believe. I think if these African nations who have been on the fence about where their support is, they're being bullied by the United States for years. Will they be able to say enough is enough, and we're going to align ourselves with these BRICS economies? We'll see.
Poison Ivy, I live in Ottawa, and he is now threatening us that if 80% aren't boosted every 6 months, then he will be forced to implement measures this winter.
Garbage. That's crazy.
Lita Gray, thank you for covering Trudeau, and now I appreciate Natalie. I'm poor.
Sorry to hear that you're poor, but we appreciate that you support Natalie. But
thank you. And yes, I'm sorry.
Drew E.T. with a super sticker. Andreas Johns, great channel. Don't ever stop. Miss Grover.
Yeah, we need to get our Grover cam set back up again. That's got to be a priority this weekend.
Yeah, he's fine. Yeah. He spends most of this show on his little doggy bed.
Yeah.
Out of sight of here.
Alejandro Oliveira, background view of Porto is beautiful. I live there.
Oh, Porto in the house.
So his name is Alejandro Oliveira.
Yeah, Oliveira.
Yeah.
Does, Alessandro, do you eat, I know this is the clicheist thing to say, do you eat a lot of francesinha? Does anyone who live in Porto actually eat that on a regular basis? Or is they only when like tourists come to town?
Tourists?
Yeah.
What is that code for pork?
No, it has multiple meats in it, and it's like a sandwich that's covered in like a cheese with like almost like a
It's
gravy
the Portuguese take on a croque monsieur or a croque madame, one of the two. And it's really heavy.
It was created in the 1970s, so it's not like it's been around for hundreds of years, but it's been like anyway. It's good. You can have it like once a year, like as a treat, like as a thing, because it's heavy. It's like a big sandwich with like meat and cheese and like gravy on top of it in Porto. So if you go to Porto, you have to have the francesinha.
Yeah.
Chris Nebelek, people think you're brother and sister because you look so much alike, and you look so much alike because you're soulmates.
Oh,
thank you.
We both have long faces.
Yes, pointy.
Yeah,
and beautiful mouths.
David and I look a lot alike, but we are not soulmates.
No,
you're not. My mother has even mistaken us for each other.
No.
Lil Panda Club, same day the Norwegian pipeline opened, the government imposed new taxes for rentable energy. Ukraine can keep Mr. Stoltenberg. What a disgrace.
Oh, yeah. Jay Maw just subscribed from Finland. Nice to see you, Jay.
Thank you.
Welcome.
James Bond, what if Biden, Putin, Z, etc. all had a master plan using nukes to terrify a global lockdown again? Probably, yeah. Anthony Goodley, Anthony Goodley are one of our moderators in chat. Thank you, Anthony. The banks are having layoffs. Are they running out of all the money that the Federal Reserve printed up? Oh, I know. Print more.
Yeah. Well, that's what they're about to do. That's the concern, is that the Fed is about to start printing money again. We're $31 trillion in debt. That was the news that broke this afternoon. The United States has now just hit $31 trillion in debt. Someone in the chat wants to know if David is the guy from the Joe Rogan podcast that was with Bob Lazar. No, that's filmmaker Jeremy Corbyn, who was the documentary filmmaker that did the film about Bob Lazar. So no, that's David Foster, our producer. But you look like him. You do look like him.
Yeah, I went to a llama. I learned about llamas this weekend at an Airbnb experience, and the lady said, "You look like somebody." I won't say who because it might offend you. And I said, "Let me guess, Ricky Gervais." And she's like, "Oh my gosh, yes, you look just like him." I'm like, I don't really think that, but I get that a lot. People say I look like him.
That's funny.
No, you're better looking than him.
No. I did not think that was like, I was like, where's this llama story going? I went.
Like somehow you just told a relatable story that involved llamas and Ricky Gervais, but neither llamas and Ricky Gervais at the same time. Like,
Nancy G, go woke, go broke. Interesting trend that companies pushing woke ideology are going under.
Yeah, certainly. We saw that with, we see that with The Daily Show, right? We just saw Trevor Noah, basically low ratings.
We see that with CNN. Yeah.
Yeah.
JJ Garrett, the Bible says they will hide in caves, bunkers, hoping to stay safe from the Lord.
Okay. Well, he knows where you are, or she.
Rainmaker, he knows if you've been good or bad. Redacted, don't censor. P.S. Sorry about the red light girl comment a bit ago. Was drinking with the boys.
Okay.
Not sure what that means.
We missed it, so you're forgiven.
Yeah. And then Gma and Taloni with 2 super stickers. Thank you. And that is all of the super chats.
Thank you, everyone. We are live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So please join us here live for the show. And please subscribe, just like Mary K. Lehman. Just subscribe to the channel. So thank you so much. You're a great part of this community, and we really appreciate you being a part of us with the show every day live. Don't forget the newsletter, first thing in the morning. Check your inbox, and we will see you guys back here tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Bye, everyone. Love you.
Bye, then.